Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on the conversation. Now, before we went on the break, we were discussing about Zimbabwe and how, it is beginning to compensate white farmers whose lands were seized during its controversial land reform program in the early 2000s. And I still have with me Dr. David Matanga and Nozipho Moyo speaking to us on this. Now, Dr. Matanga, before we went on a break, you were actually, talking, but I just want you to speak to us on how do you respond to critics, who argue that focusing, because Nozipho actually did, say something, she touched on this a bit as well. So how do you respond to critics who argue that focusing on compensating white farmers might overlook, the broader historical injustices inflicted on the black farmers or even on local communities?
As a man who went in the classroom and school both, I would say Zimbabweans have a right to criticize and to say, why are you facing compensating this when we are not all right? But there is this obligation, which is bigger. The biggest thing is to do away with anything that can bring problems on land issue in Zimbabwe. That's point number one. And I want to tell Moyo that the critics of President Emerson Mnangagwa are people mainly in hamburger eating areas in New York, London, and several other places, Johannesburg, where you are scattered. But things on the ground in Zimbabwe, I've been there. I've seen roads are being constructed, buildings are coming up. Yes, there are some few difficulties within Zimbabwe, potholes, the city which is being mismanaged by opposition councillors who mismanage these cities because they want to make the government look bad. It is all over everywhere. What has happened in Zimbabwe is, out of these sanctions, after being put on Zimbabwe, their economy went down. Their agriculture tried to survive through, but we are pulled out. We are pulling out slowly. So the critics can only touch on a few things that they want to hang on to criticize Emerson Mnangagwa. One of them is this issue of land not compensating the white farmer. They would want to use that. So we have cleared that away. Yes, on the question of the black farmers and the indigenous citizens not having enough, not having things to which are supposed the essential commodities and the rest of these other things. That is true. It depends on the economy. The economy of Zimbabwe, I have a method for it, but I proposed this method a long time ago. Zimbabwe's economy needs a command economy, a command structure that we, in 1980, when we came to power after removing Idi Amin, we used what we call a command economy. When we fought all the way from Tanzania to overthrow the dictator, we used the command economy. Let the government go and buy essential goods using their own money. Come and put distribution centers, fill the shops, put the prices, allow people who export and restrict them on export licenses. People are banking most of the money outside. You are not having any money coming back. The white farmers used to bank all the money outside, and the money was not coming back. Why do you allow the same method to go? Change that rule. And if I were to advise the Minister of Finance, who should be talking to experts, not only to do things as if he knows everything, you should change that rule, that when you take our money, you take our flowers, you are taking Zimbabwe flowers, you are not taking your flowers. When you take and bank the money there, come with the medicine, come with textbooks, come with hospital equipment, bring it back and sell it to the government, or put it back and sell it at your rate. If you see the market is flooded, that's what we did in 1980.
Okay.
And we managed to bring back goods after Idi Amin. So for me, if I were to run that economy, I would run it within 6 to 10 months. It would change because we are not doing the right thing. The local people tend to be having a problem. They have no goods, They have no salt. They have no, things are so expensive. It is true, and that is the balance. But on the overall thing, the government, President Mnangagwa has tried. You can see some serious infrastructure going up. You can see roads being repaired.
Okay.
You can see buildings coming up. So is that not a government where somebody has worked?
All right.
I'm now going back to where my this one, the flag, because my sister had a flag behind.
All right, so let's still hear from Nozipo on this, because she did talk about how Zimbabwe can reconcile this compensation with, the ongoing exclusion, especially economically, of the black smallholder farmers who inherited this land but never received state support. Now, Nozipo, do you believe that this compensation process could reignite tensions or even claims among former landowners who may now seek restitution or even repossession?
Come again, sorry.
Hello, can you hear me, Nozipo?
Yes, I didn't get your question.
All right, so I was asking if you believe that this compensation process could reignite tensions or even claims among former landowners who may now want to seek restitution or even repossession of their lands.
Of course, there's that blurry area. As I mentioned, it's been noted that more people are now coming in after it was noticed that the Zimbabwe government is now committed and they're actually putting in the first, the money that was put in total, the total is like 1% of the 3.11. So these are just part of the loopholes that the system would bring, and it's most likely to happen. It's expected to happen. It's just an issue where the process now, the system, they have to safeguard the loopholes, but that is inevitable, yes.
Oh, okay. Now,
that is inevitable.
Dr. Masanga, we're about winding down now, but we know that many white farmers, forcibly displaced, are now thriving in countries like, Zambia and the likes. So could this move by Harare be an olive branch to lure these people back, to lure their capital and also their expertise back?
If you look at the farmers who did not go, all the policy, my sister, both of you should know, the policy was one man, one farm. There were farmers who used to have 400 miles. One man had 400 miles. So if you had one farm, you can leave the others for others to get. Yes, there are farmers who remain in Zimbabwe and there are some who want to come back, because those who remain in Zimbabwe are even better off. There is no discrimination at all. In all this exercise, even Moyo will agree, there is nobody who has said he doesn't have a white farmer is not a Zimbabwean. There are so many Zimbabweans who are really born white Zimbabweans who are still in Zimbabwe, enjoying life, having the best life so far, even well protected more than some of us in our countries, in Nigeria and so many other places. Nobody is discriminating anybody there. If the farmers in Zambia want to come back, they will come back. And this payment also shows the credibility of the government, that the government of Emmerson Mnangagwa is prepared to work, to look at where mistakes were and correct these mistakes. And I want to teach my sister here one thing. Always leave room for negotiation. All the time. In my life, in 40 years of having been in exile, I've known one thing. I leave room for negotiation. Leave room for negotiation. Zimbabwe needs, let me finish this one. Zimbabwe needs what we call a redemption strategy. And I want to tell my sister, a redemption strategy will win, will bring you back. Forget, reconcile with people. Make accountability like South Africa did. If you don't do that, there will be no Zimbabwe at all. We are going home. Mnangagwa is going home. Masanga is going home. It is your country. It is up to you to come now and show reconciliation. Don't be against your government, imagining there was a coup. Which coup? A coup from where? A coup comes with what? These people, a man like that one, James, are making noise on TV. What coup can he make? Does he know how a coup is made? Some of us have known how coups are made. This man, Mnangagwa, is the best president in that country who has directed, given you freedom to write, even to talk about him. You write, you talk, you even insult him. That's a very good man. I know him for 24 years. He doesn't pay me even a penny to talk for him, but I know him, he's a good man in the heart.
All right. Nozipo, I wonder if you have something to say about what Dr. Matanga has actually just said. And, you know, I would also... I would want you... Do you want to say it first before I ask you my question? Please go ahead.
Okay, I just want to have this conversation to say it's not, as a Zimbabwean and as an African, the land is ours, and we should never be apologetic to claim what is ours. That is very clear. What made it controversial is how Mugabe delayed the process. Black Friday happened where Wolverts pushed him, and there was a chaotic way where people came in to access farms. How do you take commercial land when we were the jewel of Africa and give it to a peasant farmer who has no idea how to move a tractor? And I'll give you an example of Nick Brothers from Chinoi, who moved to Zambia, and these are the same farmers who are now bringing maize to us to supply, because it's one thing when we have communal Wolverts who claim the status of being farm holders more than them being able to utilize their land, which is one thing that Africa should learn from us. You can never take commercial land to appease. Secondly, if we're saying one man, one farm, how is that the elite ZANU-PF with Emmerson Mnangagwa, the president himself, he has more than one farm, and everyone in the cabinet? So this is not about Zimbabwe. People like using the umbrella Zimbabweans, we're a country. That is not it. They are referring to an elite club where they just eat, have access to the resources. And then again, Doctor touched about the economy, how things are happening, roads and all. I will speak as a development practitioner. I'm not an academic who's glued into books as him and write. I talk about lived realities on the ground. For me, when I'm talking about the economy, I use the human HDI. Where you rate, you look at the improvement of lives. We don't use quantitative. You see, I talked about a system where people use the system of education and they want to come and tell us about rates and percentages and GDP. The only way to know about an economy that is growing is to go and look at issues like access to water, access to healthcare, life mortality, life expectancy. That is the only way you know where we are as a country. The question is, mention any hospital that was built by the government of Zimbabwe, including Mugabe and ED, after independence. No private hospitals. These efforts are citizens trying to push in and improve their quality of life. Nothing that the government is doing, yet they have access to those resources and they're going to its leaders. So when we're talking about quality of life, let's not use a smoke screen like in Tuli, who will come and tell us about, oh, our currency is backed by gold, then the next day it's not backed by gold, or the next thing the vaults of the golds are gone. We look at the quality of life, and the quality of lives of Zimbabweans has worsened after Emmerson Mnangagwa took part. So this is how I would bring it to the table. I don't need to use big words or use the quantitative aspect to rate, but being a Zimbabwean coming to visit Washington and going back home, I know what I mean when I talk about the quality of life. So what am I saying? I'm saying for Emmerson Mnangagwa, yes, you want to engage. I believe in negotiation. My question, even when we started this conversation, is to say, is this the right time when we're failing to deal with our houses? And personal opinion, when I look at Emerson Mnangagwa, in as much as he's building his own legacy outside Mugabe, they are very much aligned. They're very much from the same fabric. For me, Emerson Mnangagwa and the late President Robert Mugabe, to me, they behave like a typical abusive husband who would beat up the wife, stab the kids, but want to go to work and be deemed as the good boss because they're building credibility, brand, and all. So as a Zimbabwean, as a child, what do I have to say with such a father who has no interest or has proved lack of empathy in improving my well-being?
Okay.
So these are the realities on the ground, not the smoke screens that are happening. Don't tell me about the GDPs, don't tell me about the ZIG, the raids, and all. That someone manipulates, someone created that system. The economy is a system. Tell me about how I'm living, and that is how I will tell you how the economy is in Zimbabwe. Things have gone from bad to worse. In the gutters.
Well said, Nozipho. We've spoken from a personal point of view. Now we're wrapping up. Let's have your final words, Dr. Masanga.
Moyo, I think we shall have a better engagement and continue to engage you all the time until you realize that East or West home is best. I do understand difficulties of Africa. Not every African country is the same as Washington, D.C. or London, where I live or where I've lived. But when you pick this copy, I don't know whether she will allow me to put my book here to show you. This is my book. And if you read this book written by me, and you will find everything you are talking is in here. The injustices committed by 4,000 commercial farmers cannot be equated to what the Mugabe has done. Mugabe has, you see, 4,000 commercial farmers took land, 14 million blacks were living on rocks with animals. And if you look at that injustice, then you'll see today, even Moyo has explored. Even Chamisa has got a farm that produces flowers. Chamisa exports flowers every day from out of Harare International Airport. Robert Mugabe International Airport. I know his company. So that is what we wanted. So when you say this place is not, should have remained that way, it's wrong. But all in all, we want to ask the government to look at the economy, to see how they can make the economy work. And there is no better words. You can do good politics, but if the economy is not working,
all right,
Moyos will not like you. So thank you very much, my sister, for giving me this opportunity. And you have 2 copies for free.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Nozipho, as well, for your time. Nozipho Moyo, Executive Director, Africa Kiburi in Washington, D.C., and also Dr. David Masanga, African Affairs Analyst in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. We appreciate you for your time. And with that, we conclude today's episode of The Conversation. You can catch up on all missed episodes on our YouTube channel at News Central. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Until I come your way again, I'm Darshan Usman. Goodbye.